Today's video is how to start an Etsy shop for beginners, but is also an Etsy selling tutorial to help increase Etsy sales with the exact formula that I've used to sell over 33,000 items on Etsy, even though I work full-time as a teacher and am a crazy busy mom of 2. I'm going to break this down into manageable steps with the 10 specific strategies in the Etsy selling formula that worked for me, whether you are a new Etsy seller or are looking for an updated tutorial on how to sell on Etsy. The first thing I need to say about selling on Etsy, and even before you sell on Etsy, is that you need to be wildly creative. Sure, I could just call this do your product research, whether you've started selling on Etsy or not, but you need to make something cute, interesting, different, and desirable, and ultimately something people are actually searching for and something they actually want. So your products need to be extra creative and unique. So true story, when I was a kid, I was super crafty, and when I was 12, I actually sold about $5,000 worth of handmade jewelry. And now to really date myself, that's over 30 years ago, and $5,000 was a lot of money. So if you've ever heard of Friendly Plastic or Fimo Clay, that was what I used to make the jewelry. And I used to make barrettes and earrings and brooches. And most of this was sold to the teachers at my aunt's school, and probably some to some really nice neighbors and friends of my parents. Of course, I was super lucky, and anything I made was sold out. My aunt would say, wow, the teachers at my school really love these pumpkin brooches and ghost earrings, but Christmas is coming, so can you make us some Christmas items? So I made little snowman earrings and Christmas tree pins and they'd all sell out. However, this was much more likely to do with the people who were selling the jewelry for me than anything I was doing. But then after Christmas, Valentine's was coming, so I take little candy hearts and glue them together and put them on a barrette and cover them in shiny, shiny glue. Or I'd make little clay hearts into earrings. Obviously, this is extremely lucky that my parents were able to take me to purchase these supplies and put up with the enormous mess in the kitchen. Thanks, Mom. But certainly if any of these teachers looking for these types of seasonal items were going to Walmart, which had just opened in Canada, by the way, they certainly weren't going to find any handmade candy earrings. Which leads me to the second thing that you need to do when you're selling on Etsy, which is to research trends. I sold all of these items based on seasonal trends. So is it Christmas? Is it Valentine's? Is it some obscure week for a specific career? This Pi Day. This one is huge for math teachers. This is more than simply finding a creative idea in your product research, but checking and staying on top of the upcoming trends at least 3 to 4 months in advance is a great way to make sure that you have those items up on Etsy ahead of time. Or this is simply a great way to update the tags on a couple items that maybe were lacking anyway. Now, sometimes you can't know what is coming, and hindsight is 2020, pardon the pun. You can't know in advance that in 2020 we're going to be scrambling for hand sanitizer and toilet paper, and that these would become crazy hot commodities in the world in 2020. But if something happens in the world, and if you can quickly react and create an item related to what is happening in the world, maybe in politics or in the news or whatnot, then that can really help your sales skyrocket too. All right, let's move on to keyword research. And at the risk of sounding like you need a doctoral degree in research to be able to sell on Etsy, the best way to be successful on Etsy is to make sure that you have a viable product, and then make sure that you have good keywords to help your product be seen and marketed within Etsy. You can have the greatest item ever, but no one will see it if you simply labeled a hat as a hat, as opposed to all of the millions of other words that you could use, because otherwise no one will find it and no one will buy it. Your keywords and search engine optimization, or SEO, help get your items in front of the right people and help you sell on Etsy. Yes, you need to study Etsy SEO. Now, I'm not saying that keywords are your end all and be all, but they can definitely help you. So do your best to make these as specific as possible. Personally, I like to use the keyword research tool Sales Samurai, and there's a link in description if you're interested. Now, this goes without saying for some of you, but before you open your Etsy shop, if you haven't yet, be sure to sign up for 40 free listings from another shop's link. And yeah, I have one below in the description too if you're interested, or get one from a friend or search for one on Google or whatnot. But you may as well open your Etsy shop with 40 free listings. This will help you to start selling on Etsy for free, and you can add your first 40 items for $0. Now, when I add a new item to sell on Etsy, which Etsy calls a listing, I spend a lot of time making sure the photos are great, that the description is amazing. And it's important to spend some time on this so customers feel like you actually care and know what you're talking about. No one wants to give someone some money if they can't even come up with item descriptions in their own words. So if it's helpful, try to think of questions that the customer might have about sizing or colors. So try to answer those questions in your item description or your listing photos or both. And of course, you can always come back and change these and make them more awesome later too. Now, after I publish a listing, I want the internet to realize that it exists. So I immediately pin the photos on Pinterest. If you're not sure what this is, just search it up. You'll find a million YouTube tutorials on it. And of course, you should also share the item on social media if you're using it. But if you have a brand new shop, maybe you have a huge fan in your life, like your BFF or your mom, then perhaps it's also possible that this person follows your shop's social media and shares the social media post. Or maybe you know someone who will favorite your items on Etsy. Don't go against Etsy's terms of service. But I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure my mom goes through and gives a big thumbs up to all of my YouTube videos. So thanks, Mom, and you try and stop her. Now, you might feel like you've done the hard part already, and truthfully, you have. That is mostly true, but the hard part and the harder part, if you have a newer Etsy shop, is waiting for those first few or new Etsy sales to come in. So at this point, you have a couple options to help get your Etsy items out there. You can offer a discount, like a temporary sale. You can offer a coupon. You can offer free shipping. You can offer your customers free shipping when they purchase multiple items, or if they place an order over $35, which Etsy really seems to like. These strategies work. No, they don't work overnight. And if the item isn't popular, if it's priced too high, or there's simply too much competition and your item isn't unique enough, it won't sell no matter what you do. And it won't sell over and over again like so many other items that are on Etsy. So price your items fairly to begin with, and then use some of these other strategies coming up to help your items fly out of your shop. But again, these strategies coming up don't work in a vacuum. So while you're waiting for things to start to sell, because maybe you just have a few items listed in Etsy, the trick is that while you're waiting for those first few sales to start to roll in, don't sit and wait. You're going to continue to add new items in your Etsy shop, because to be honest, you really don't know what will sell in your shop and what will actually stick. This is the only way to increase sales in your Etsy shop and to keep the ball rolling once you receive a sale or two. Plus, when you add new items, it helps to make your shop look like a shop and make it look more pro versus just a random web page with a couple items listed on it. Now, of course, there have definitely been items in my Etsy shop that I did not know would sell super well. And of course, there were other items that I was sure were wonderful and I never sold a single one. But the bottom line is, if you have no products in Etsy, no one can buy from you. So try not to judge yourself on your listings and just get them out there. Spend time on them, yes, but if you're getting stuck, then just force yourself to have 5 new listings up by the end of the day, because you never know what might actually be successful. You might be overthinking it. I mean, I know I sure do. And hey, if I was to sit here and think about what would make the perfect YouTube video for you all, then I would never have any videos posted on YouTube because I'd be waiting for another million years. Same thing. Now, maybe you've added at least 40, but maybe 50 or 100 listings, and maybe you're starting to see a little bit of traction in your shop. But this is the time to think about adding a custom or personalized item with your specific style in your shop. Maybe you were customizing the text or the color or a year. But this step is very important to help you receive lovely reviews from your customers, as you likely have to send them a message or two to make sure that the design is exactly what they're looking for. Plus, this is a chance for your Etsy shop to really take off. Once you start having that one item that starts making you a little bit of money all the time, then you also stop worrying about the cost of adding new items to Etsy just because it costs you 20 cents to add a new one. When business gurus talk about cash flow in your business, this is what they're talking about. Now it's time to grow and scale your Etsy shop for even greater success. Etsy is viral in its very nature, so once your item has sold, it has the possibility of selling again and again. And this is especially true if you receive lovely reviews and customers who return to buy from you again and again as well. Then this is amplified if you have outside traffic, and by that I mean potential Etsy shoppers that you are sending to your Etsy shop, like how I mentioned using Pinterest, or maybe you have friends and family that are interested in purchasing from your shop. But I've also had tremendous success using Etsy ads, and this functions in a very similar way, except that these people versus your friends and family are already looking to buy something on Etsy. So everyone is going to be different with their preferences and comfort level in terms of spending money on ads or discounts, in terms of getting sales to help you sell on Etsy successfully. But once you start to figure out what works, just do it over and over and over again. And when it stops working, just go back to the beginning and come up with something new and creative, amazing and interesting new products. And if you're wondering more about adding new listings on Etsy, then I would recommend you check out my ultimate listings strategy, where I added 10 items a day to my shop for 30 days. And as always, I wish you all the very best of success in building your Etsy shop for today, tomorrow, and for well into the future. See you later, superstar.